Howdy do. Don't mind the mess behind me. I didn't have a chance to actually reframe things. I'm pulling in a shift today, walking in the door, trying to get things done, trying to unwind. And here I am. So I get to do that for the next hour and a half with everybody. When you pop in, say hi. If you've never hung out with us on a Sunday night, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And here are my guys now, Owen and Andrew. And thanks, guys, for confirming the addresses. I have no idea what happened there. My address books, I've designated actually a book now for all my addresses. So from now on, it's going to be somewhere's close by, handy dandy, somewhere's where I'm not going to forget. I actually have it on a computer file, but I have no idea what I named it. So I thought it was just easier, and it was hard because I had to email everybody again, right, and say, hey, please, right, can I have your email or your mailing address? But anyway, I got it all done, everybody. My cards are all done, ready to go into the mailbox. Well, sort of, kind of. I forgot that my cards to the States is a different price, so I have to put extra stickers. So I'll do that right after my live tonight. Right? It's not over yet. Still chores to do. Oh yeah, a few things. But I have 2 days off now. See who's here. Oh, Melvin's here. Mary Kay. Thank you, Mary Kay, for coming in and joining me and my crew on Instagram. You've watched a couple of my lives, I'm going to assume. Now, I don't know. It's a little bit different than what I'm doing here, but we're working towards the brand being more alike, right? But over there, I don't have that opportunity to get out onto the road and stuff. And I'm expecting this spring to have a vehicle, and we are going to be back on the road exploring. And that's what I want my YouTube channel to be, is the Mother Nature. Oh, Kathy's here. Awesome. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Owen. What's everybody's good cheer this week? Did anybody do anything exciting? Did anybody learn something new? Does anybody out there like, oh, good, you enjoy it? See, though, I do a lot of mindset and mindfulness over there. I go pretty deep over there sometimes, but it's very beneficial. It's very helpful. I'm learning off of some amazing people. A lot of my insight comes from my very own experience, and I share a lot of that over on Instagram. We get into those deep topics, right? Just kind of hoping that, somebody's going to see a little bit of themselves and their struggles in my life, right? Just maybe give some of those tips just through experience, right? Not let to some of those experiences that we would have rather not have, right? But managing and getting here, right? I'm so happy where I am in my life right now. I'm slowly getting better and better and better. Everything is improving in my life a little bit. Sometimes, you don't see it in the day to day. Sometimes it's just you look back and you say, oh, my life is the same as it was yesterday. But you have to go further back, right? You have to go back. Look at your life a year ago and then compare your life to right now. And then that's how you see all that improvement, right? Because we don't notice the minuscule things. Yeah, I see it all the time. Every once in a while, I have to go into one of my old posts from like last year or couple of years ago, and I just shake my head, right? Because, oh my goodness, it was certainly a learning process, 100%. But, I barely recognize that person when I watch those posts or read those posts. And I guess it's evolving, right? We all kind of evolve as we go along. Yeah. It wasn't written in Asian, was it? Or was it written by an Asian person? I think there was a horror movie that was really popular. That was that was a Japanese movie, and it got really popular here. It was, I can't remember what it was called. Caught up on my sleep. I don't know. I have pretty good sleeping habits. Like I don't normally sleep 8 hours. But I'm such a sound sleeper, right? Because when I'm sitting at my desk or the evening rolls around and something in me just says, Cindy, it's go to bed, and it's just time to go to bed, and I just go to bed. My cat crawls in bed and hogs up the pillows and sticks her butt in my face, and we just spend a little bit of time together for about a few minutes, and then I'm out. I'm conked until it's time to get up. But I don't know. I've always had a lot of energy, like, I think it helped me quite a bit too. When because normally when somebody, as you're giving me some things to think about right here, Mary Kay. Because when I was a young adult, I even had a lot of energy, and as a young adult, I was well over $300, but 300 pounds. I weighed over 300 pounds, right? As a young adult, but I kept up to everybody, and I like to do those things like swimming and bike riding and hiking and camping. I loved all those physical things. You'd never see me do weightlifting or anything like that. But I think it helped me to have that energy. And I guess, being 60, and I just think, oh my goodness, 60 years old. But I only think about it when I think about it. It's kind of funny to say that because I don't feel it. I don't feel 60 years old. I'm grateful. I am grateful. But I see, guys that are 30 years old, and they're like broken old men, right? Just from the hard life that they had, or the hard jobs that they had, or the high amount of stress that they had. The red cup, Mary Kay. I'm trying to remember the red cup. You lost me on that one. You're going to have to jog my memory. Yeah, I believe a lot of our lives are set by routine, right? My sister has really bad sleeping habits, and it causes her a lot of stress. It also causes her physical issues because your sleeping hours is when your body rejuvenate. And of course, I don't have to tell you that, Mary Kay. You know that already, right? So yeah, sleep, and especially for you when you're under such high stress, right? And you got to make sure you're drinking lots and lots and lots of water, and maybe a little bit of salt too for you, Mary Kay, right? Because when you're under that kind of stress and you're not sleeping well, that affects your emotional well-being. So I'm going to think, or going to assume, that there's maybe a little bit of crying sometimes, right? A lot of expended energy that you don't have stored in your body, that you need those. I know the young guys like those sporting drinks, right? Those like Gatorades and stuff, maybe those things. I know it's for heart, it causes heart racing, and I would never on the norm say that to anybody. But yeah, sleeping habits, once you can normalize like your electrolytes and all that, like you could build a routine. It only takes 66 days, they say, to build a routine. And it's a matter of choosing good sleeping habits for routine. Sometimes our jobs don't give you those hours, but a lot of it is the stress. A lot of it is that overthinking mind that keeps us uh, just busy at night. Well, instead of sleeping and using the bed for sleeping, you're using it to lay there to think about tomorrow, or to think about the what ifs, or I should haves, right? And we can beat ourselves up and make ourselves feel bad. And then when you don't get it, and you'll stay up all night, and then you just on a couple hours sleep. Oh my goodness. And then you have to go to work. And see, it would be hard to find joy, right? I would be more concerned, right? Because I can go long periods of times with no sleep. When I have exciting events to do or something like that, I can go 2 or 3 hours, just a quick nap. But I think it's that high energy that I have, Mary Kay, right? That allows it for me to be able to do it. I don't know why I have that energy, but I'm going to assume, and it's been mentioned to me. It's mentioned to me all the time, right? But I think it's because it's meant for something. It's a right. It's all these packages that I carry, and as I meet people and interact with them and give them their packages, right? This is how my brain thinks that it'll be relieved off of me, right? Maybe all this shine, because I do believe I'm a bit of a community project, that I believe all this shine is meant for something else. All this energy is meant for something else, right? And I joke at work quite often. They always say, oh, they shake my head. And I should tell you about the story because it kind of relates to it. But um, um, one of the ladies that I worked at, I was cranky tonight. I'm never cranky at her. I love her to death. She's my absolute sweetheart. But I said I wasn't going to rush. And then we ended up having to rush at the end of the night, right? And then sometimes it's frustrating because I have such good ideas, and when I say things, right, like I'm not talking off the top of my head. Like lots of times I could butt in and say this, but every once in a while, right, when I want to get out of there, I know when we got to start getting things done, right? You can trust me on that. And yeah. So I found it frustrating because they didn't listen, and I ended up doing exactly what I thought happened, and I wasn't happy. And she's also very sensitive. She's a very sensitive lady, so she caught it right away. So I'll maybe give her a little phone call because I've been thinking about it, right? I've been thinking because I never do that, and because I beat myself up too about it, right? And I know that her being a highly sensitive, she's beating herself up about it. And there was nothing to beat up about it, right? Stuff happens. We adapt, we conquer. We're co-workers. We love on each other, right? But yeah. Sometimes he pops in. Sometimes he has a busy little social life. I do know he has some things going on. He actually messaged me this morning and just said, just to say good morning, right? He quite often will just do that. I usually just give him the thumbs up now and stuff because, he knows I'm there, the conversation, right? Whenever he wants to talk or unload or something, I'm always there. But those good mornings or hellos, right? I'll just usually give him the thumbs up and stuff because I got stuff to go do, right? So if you don't want to have a conversation, if you just want to say hi, then there's my thumb, right? Hi. So yeah, he usually does one of those for me. Oh, Carol Burnett. I like Carol Burnett. I always do that at work at the end of the night, right? I didn't do it tonight, but I normally will do it. I'll sing that little song at the end of her television show, right? I'm so glad we had this time together. right? Do you guys remember that? She'd tug on her ear when she'd do that. Yeah, I loved Carol. They had such good skits. Not only good skits, but genuine, right? I'm just gonna turn my thermostat down a little bit because we don't need it to be that warm. And I'm also going to open the window a little bit and let's get some fresh air. I always wear these homemade sweaters. It has written a tag, right? It says to someone special, right? Somebody made it and ended up in a thrift store and it ended up at my place. I absolutely love these homemade sweaters. But I was talking about something, but I can't remember what it was. With Mary Kay about we were talking about the energy. Yeah, it's been mentioned to me, yeah, that I have a lot of energy, but I always joke all the time that it's for something. I don't know what it is. It's for something. But again, I also believe that everything that's been taken away from you, right? And this is what I hear, and I kind of sort of believe it, or I kind of optimistic that this is something that I could believe in, right? Because it sure would be nice that every little bad thing that was ever said to me, any negativity that was actually directed at me, anything where I thought that, somebody wasn't treating me kindly, that, it would be returned back to me in some form. And maybe it was all that energy that I have, because I have good health. I talk about it all the time. My great good health, grateful, but also I think it's part of my affirmations because I say it so often, because I believe that what people think or what you think is realized, right? So if somebody thought that and I picked it up and I resonated with it, right? So it's now kind of what I believe too, right? So I kind of consider it as one of my affirmations. Aw, I love the guys. How you guys like pay attention to everything. I had a question for Andrew, but I've forgotten what it was, and I meant this afternoon to ask him about. Oh, we were talking. Yeah, I want to talk to you about the documentaries. Oh, such great things in archaeology going on right now. And I've been watching a few of them. I was watching one on Shangri-La, right? A document how when that plane crashed, the guy wrote the novel of Shangri-La, and then how people actually believed it and thought he was trying to cover it up and that it was actually a true story. So people took off on these big long treks through the mountains to find Shangri-La. And then in the 60s, it got really, really popular with the hippies, because the hippies all wanted to go Shangri-La because Shangri-La was like paradise, right? And because that area, the community is Islam, they have very high etiquette where things are frowned upon, like bare legs and your boobs hanging out, right? And so there was their heaven on earth, their little paradise um village. It caused everybody lots of stress, right? I thought it was super super interesting, but I was watching some archaeological ones too, and I just thought it was just so amazing. And I meant to say that I wanted to talk to Andrew about them, because he would probably think that they were really interested. How they found the uh, Church of the Prophets of the Church in Scotland. They found it or something. And they're digging it up right now. Now they found that princess, and her skin was still soft because they buried her in a concrete coffin. and then put her in a concrete room. Then they put another slab of outerwear on it. She was sealed so airtight that the air and the bacteria couldn't get in there, and she stayed her skin stayed soft. It's I mentioned her name, but it starts with an X anyway, Princess X or something, or she was uh, a government official, highly respected, right? Because her funerals was almost royal like. Yeah, it was amazing. So they're checking into that one too. But there was another one that I really wanted. See, and I'm just thinking of all these other documentaries in the meantime as I'm trying to jog my memory to the one that I did want to talk to Andrew about. But yeah, I love my documentaries. Well, I don't have a TV, number one, so I watch all my videos on YouTube. But there's lots of junk on YouTube, and you can actually watch television shows and you can watch movies online. But I just choose to watch mindset and mindfulness and different ways to help people emotionally. Sometimes I even like to sit in the university discussions, right? And they're really lots of fun, right? Especially if they have really some really smart people. I learn a lot from them. Interesting. I think I would have made a really good university student, right? I would think that I would, right? Especially with the interests that I have in archaeology and anthropology and sociology, right? Oh, Nancy made it in tonight. Hi, Nancy. Yeah, I love archaeology. And I like to look at the past because we learn from our mistakes how to do things better, right? When you look at the past, especially when it comes to war and resolving disagreements and arguments, right? I was actually watching another documentary, and it was on Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, right? And their story and how they were actually first cousins, first cousins. That well, in those days there was a lot of those families. Even in my family, I was told by my mother and my grandmother, it was like, there was a lot of that going on in our family. And that was because it was meant to keep the land and the money in the family. So they'd marry nieces off to their uncles and to their first cousins and stuff. But yeah, Prince Albert and Queen Victoria. Yeah, she was they were first cousins, and they had an amazing relationship. They had like 9 children, and they all looked healthy, all had healthy lives. They may have disappointed their parents a little bit, but they were like amazing to be able to have that kind of a family life. And I guess that's just again, just as we're turning into a new century, right? That these things weren't so right. Even in royalty, that things loosened up, right? I still believe that we should all be living by our morals and should be hanging out with people who live to those same standards, right? Otherwise it becomes difficult, right? It becomes well, argumentative, right? You need to be with people who think it's like our Sunday nights, right? How we use our values to maneuver and meet new and interesting people. And each and every one of us here is an individual. Somebody's totally unique to themselves, right? Lots of us, and for lots of us, we have so many unique aspects about ourselves that it actually does become difficult to interact, right? But yeah, we have such an amazing crew here. Like, there's no reason for anybody, and especially when I was just talking about this on my Instagram earlier this week, that how I like my time alone, right? How how I like working on my own, um, not being distracted by things going on around me, right? Even my cat doesn't bother me. She's more than likely to come to me if I should call her rather than her wanting to get my attention for anything, unless I didn't feed her. But she's a very polite cat, and she'll wait for me to take note that I haven't filled her bowl up yet, right? Oh, we were also talking about the sleep habits, yeah. And my sister, she suffers really bad with the insomnia. She had a very stressful job too, like you would have, but different, right? She did sales and office furnitures and stuff, and plus she was one of the lead managers in with her company. She pretty much ran the show there, and everybody depended on her. And while she was unwell, she tried to hold it together the best that she could. She's off work for a little bit right now, but I'm going to assume that maybe her sleeping habits are a little bit better, but probably not, because she would wake up really, really quite early in the morning, like at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she'd just stay up for hours and hours, and then she'd go to bed for an hour and then get up and get ready for work and then work all day and then come home, stay up for a couple hours, go to bed. And she did this all the time, right? She wouldn't get a lot of sleep, and quite often her husband would kick her out of bed and tell her to go lay on the couch, because she would just be laying in bed, tossing and turning and not being able to go to sleep. It just seemed like a waste of time for her to even be in the bed, right? Because she wasn't sleeping anyway. She might as well be up watching a television show or just, and that's what she needed. She needed to feel that she had time for herself, that the world all demanded so much of her that she just needed that alone time to feel like the whole world. I know that feeling when I go for my evening walks or I got up in the middle of the night for an hour, right? You feel like you have the whole world to yourself, right? And it's a really nice feeling. And sometimes when the stress is so much, the only time that you actually do feel safe and comfortable and at a calm stage is when you are by yourself, when you do have a little bit of solitude, right? Just for yourself. I love that. I love even solitude and doing my thing on the weekends. I won't be going out this weekend. I have way too much to get done. And I've committed to make sure that by the end of the weekend that these things are all my weekend. It's the next 2 days that I have. Uh, I have things that I've committed to, and I want to make sure that I get them done. What's the date today? 12. Yeah, I got one more day on one of these posts that I haven't even started it yet. Like, I'm inspired by something and I know kind of the idea, but it's to word it properly so it impacts. And I don't give myself the right time to get it done, and then I don't represent well. But I have to remember, I have to be proud of the effort, not the result. But I think a little bit better planning. Right? And then I wouldn't have gotten into the situation where I have to be proud of the effort, right? I would like to be proud of the result too, right? I'd like to be proud of the result too, but that's what we do, right? I'm exactly the same way, Andrew. My fan is beside my bed. It's on low, right in my face, not 2 feet away from my face. My cat enjoys it too, and I like the worry, the little bit of whir. I like the wind, right? It reminds me of Mother Nature a little bit, right? I get that feel of Mother Nature. But yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. The fan is really quite excellent. Um, it also, what it does is it blocks out noises, because if you're not a good sleeper, maybe it's possible that you have a little bit of hypervigilance too. And when you're hypervigilant, you hear everything, right? cat plays with something and knocks something, you hear it, right? The dripping sink, you'll hear that. You'll hear something crash out in the hallway. You'll hear the person upstairs tapping on the floor, right? You'll overhear things. You'll start imagining you hear things, right? Because your hypervigilance works that way. So I like fans for that factor too, because I do have a little bit of a hypervigilance. I have to trust that if anything were needing my attention, that I would wake up right away, or I would be attentive to it right away. But there's always that possibility that I wouldn't. And yeah, but yeah, I do like to block the noises out. I do like to block the noises out, and the fan is a good way to do it. Some people do it with the radio. I like Mother Nature. I like to hear the wind. I like to hear the rain. I find it very soothing, like the rain on the roof. Here, I don't have that because I'm only on the fourth floor, and we have 15 floors in this apartment building, right? So I don't get that opportunity to even have the rain pound, because in the direction that I'm facing, you don't get to have the rain too often pound on the windows. I actually had to dangle outside on the fourth floor, dangled outside with my kitchen mop, and I actually mopped the outside of my windows because I love my picture window, and I wanted to make sure that it was nice and clean for winter, so that I could see the snow and the pretty scenery and stuff. Now today it was a little mucky again. It makes for washing floors, and that contributed at work to Cindy having them all. I have no idea. It was all over right away. But then when you have somebody who sensed it and then just thinks that it's carrying on when it's not carrying on, right? And that is frustrating. And then I left there feeling bad, getting home, giving it some more thought, right? Now to the point where I'm going to phone her and say, I'm sorry, right? That's not nice, because it's my own lessons too. I was just saying something to that effect. Even this morning, I think I was talking a little bit about it. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but it was something, because I made note of it when I got home tonight, right? Let me have a sip of my coffee, everybody. Yeah. I'll look back at the comments. You guys are yapping so much. Jonathan, I didn't get your I saw somebody talking to you. Oh, there you are, dear. Yeah, I didn't get your address, and I've already set the deadline for sending out my Christmas cards this year. Jonathan, make sure DM me on my Instagram and send me your address, and I'll make sure next year you get your Christmas card, right? That I'm sending out those Christmas cards. I've got them all done already. And if you send out your address right away, like tonight, maybe I'll squeeze you in and get your card to you, right? But yeah, everybody's cards there. Melvin, you too, right? Do you want to DM me on my Instagram there with your email? Then I would be happy, right? But yeah, my deadline already for my Christmas cards, and I did everybody that I had an address for, right? Yeah, so let me go back to the comments here and see what everybody's yapping about. Movies. I think there was something that I wanted to talk about, a movie that I had seen. But I haven't seen any movies. I haven't been to a theater in 2 years. I don't even remember the last movie I went to see. I'm glad they ended the Lord of the Rings series, though, before the coronavirus started. Wouldn't that be a heartbreaker, right? Because those were amazing. I loved going and watching those ones in 3D. I didn't see the second Avatar, and I wanted to see that one. And I've missed a whole bunch of the Ice Age movies, and the Ice Age movies are my absolute favorites. I have Ice Age 1, 2, and 3 that I'm supposed to be watching, but I haven't watched them yet because I can't just make that time. Once I have free time, I'm off doing something else. Yeah. I understand. I do need a little bit of structure, a little bit more structure in my life. I just haven't gotten to that point yet, right? I just haven't got there yet. It's a process. It's a process with me, right? We want to make sure that Cindy's always enjoying what she's doing, right? I don't want to feel that pressure, right? I don't want to feel that stress, right? And I'm grateful, and I give back in a different way. I would like to think that I give back in a different way. They're right, like Mary Kay working in the emergency room. Like, you got to give somebody respect for a job like that. Or Owen taking care of his mom, and Andrew his brother, and right, so many beautiful people here and giving back in their own ways. And this is what I do. I come in, I show up, I share my journey, I expand my mind a little bit along the way. I meet some amazing people that over the years have become some amazing friends, so much so that the Christmas cards are going out to you, right? So that's absolutely amazing. And I hope I got everybody. I know I didn't. I know I forgot important people 100%. But I did the best that I could. I have a better list here. I have a book now for the addresses. Make sure that I have your address so that I can get your card out to you. And when I do cards, I put a little bit of love into them. It's just not like, hi, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, love, Cindy. No, right? And that's half the problem too. But when you only have time, right, maybe once or twice a year, to let somebody know how much you appreciate them, how important that they are, how glad you are to know each other, right? That it's important to put that little bit of extra effort in there. Hello, Nancy dear. Brunch. I like breakfast for dinner. I like breakfast for dinner all the time. Sausages and eggs are my favorite. Sausages, eggs, hash browns, peanut butter, toast, and a cup of tea. Yeah, tea with breakfast. And I usually have that treat when I'm at a restaurant, because then I can have toast with peanut butter. If I'm not supposed to have toast and peanut butter. I almost broke that. I didn't. I was so ashamed of myself. I went to the store to get some English muffins or hamburger buns or something, and I walked into the aisle and they had none, and I went, oh my goodness. I says, how am I going to eat this without that? And then I went and I looked at the shelf and I said, I don't care. I'm getting the bread. I'm breaking this. I'm such I'm having bread. I haven't had bread in over 2 years. Technically bread. I've had hamburger buns and hot dog buns. I've had bagels or English muffins. I've even had those flatbreads, and then I'll put like pork and lettuce in them, and I'll have like roll ups and stuff. But even those have lots of bread in them, right? But technically, a loaf of bread, I don't buy it anymore. And now I've for about a month now, I would think. I have not been into the bakery. I haven't purchased anything from the bakery. I'm so proud of myself, and it wasn't even that difficult. You just can't go into that section. You just can't go in there and take a look, because I'm sure maybe, okay, Cindy, you can have that. Oh, it's Christmas time. Oh, look at they have mincemeat tarts, Cindy, right? And I would talk myself into buying a treat, but I haven't. I haven't gone into the bakery in over a month. I'm kind of proud of myself. about that, right? It's not that I'm not finding it in other ways, but yeah. You go into Shoppers Drug Mart, because Shoppers Drug Mart has a cookie shelf, and that's how you do it. Oh, right, but also the aisle at the grocery store has a cookie aisle too. So you don't even have to go into the bakery. But I'm not having any fresh bakery, right? So that whole section is totally eliminated. And that was a big, difficult one for me because I really love cake and icing and donuts and muffins and tarts and Hostess cupcakes, the white ones, not the chocolate ones, the Hostess cupcakes. I like those. Mary Kay, you'll see the post because I have one. My first one is going up on Tuesday. I'm doing a series, the 12 days of giveness, I'm calling it. And it's a collaboration with Kathy, and it's some of her artwork. And I'm going to be inspired differently from each picture. She actually gave me one of her colorings. Hold on a moment. I can help you with this one, Kathy. I can tell you. I just have to take my picture down, and then Mary, whoops, and then she can see. This is Kathy sent me this one. Kathy is Nichols there, Mary Kay. I hope you're okay with that, Kathy. This Kathy did this one for me, Mary Kay. This is one of her colorings. Isn't it spectacular? It's called Dream Big. It's I love this piece. It hangs on the wall right over here. I'm gonna have this no matter what, Kathy. As long as I'm alive, this is gonna get dragged around with me. And I'm so pleased with the frame that I picked for it. I picked such a great frame. And like the glass over the picture, like it has no glare on it. Look at it, it has no glare. You could just see that picture just perfectly. Isn't it lovely? But that's me, 100%. That is me. Can't you just see me in this picture? Yeah, that says Cindy, except she's got the dark hair. But you know what? In a past life, I would have had dark hair. I would have had maybe dark skin. Maybe I was from Africa, or maybe I was Japanese or Chinese, or right? Maybe I was Iranian or Turkish or Egyptian. Maybe that's why I love Egyptology so much, right? I love all forms of archaeology. The one I'm loving on right now is the Manitoba history. I love Manitoba history. I love following the Northwest Company, and I love following the Hudson Bay, the Voyager, the stories of the fur trades, right? I love the settlement of this country, specifically the settlement of Manitoba and the different cultures that they established in Manitoba, how they put different communities, different cultures, and like up in northern Manitoba in a place called Dauphin. It was settled over 120 years ago by the Ukrainian community, and 25% of that community still speaks the mother tongue, still speaks Ukrainian. It's absolutely amazing. Also there was an area in southern Manitoba where they situated different cultures in the same area. They were farmers at the time, but they gave the lots out to different cultures. So you would have had the Métis would have been there, the Ukrainians would have been there, the Dutch would have been there, the French would have been there, the English would have been there, the Scottish would have been there, the Russians would have been there, and they would have all amalgamated, assimilated. And that's exactly, there was actually a name for the project, and it was actually a successful project. The Hutterite colonies, they stayed pretty much within their own communities. But the Mennonites, right? Because they're businessmen, right? They love business, and you learn social skills, and they're very. I love the Hutterites. I would like to. If I'm sure I've been a Hutterite at some point, but I would love to try that one again. that was a community that I really do appreciate. I really appreciate that passing down of your skills and your talents, actual survival skills. That if this digital age, if electricity, if it went back to a time where we actually did not have these amenities that we have now, right? Like hydro and water and stuff, that we would actually be able to survive properly and, sew our own clothing and actually be able to make our own linen or make our own rope, or right, show the kids path. And these youth always were skills that were passed down to the children. This is how we learned. Kids now aren't even learning how to cook, right? Because everything is skip the dishes, everything is fast food and restaurants and stuff, right? And then you have busy moms that are working full-time jobs, and they're coming home and it's craft dinner and pork and beans and things you can open out of boxes and cans, right? So whatever's quick. It's a different way. It's a different way of life right now. And like sewing clothes, how mothers would teach their children in the Hutterite colonies, right? They're still teaching their children how to sew, and they're beautiful sewers. Yeah, I got a pair of slippers. One of the Hutterite ladies made me a pair of slippers. She's a really nice lady too. They're all really nice, but that right. But it's business. It's business, and their social and interactions is based on that, right? It's genuine, 100%. It is genuine, but they're very good at it too, right? They've honed in, and they know how to build relationships, and not just amongst their own community, but amongst other communities too. And they contribute so much too, right? Okay, let me get back into these comments here because I got yapping about something else as usual. Yeah, they were supposedly really, really good, really good parents. They played each other quite a bit. Well, obviously, he wanted to be king. He wanted to run the rule. He wanted to rule the kingdom, and he did in a way. He beat himself out because he didn't have the title, but the government let him make decisions on his own. His wife gave him the 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 authority and designated him consort so he could make these decisions. He actually worked in charities and fundraising, and stood up for different causes and stuff. Like, he earned his place in history 100%. But because he didn't have the official, right, he wasn't king, his wife was. But what irked him more about that is because her lady in waiting got to call more shots than he did, because her lady in waiting was a huge influence on Queen Victoria, right? Was a huge influence on Queen Victoria, but she truly loved him. But he played her too, because he did what my dad did, right? My dad knew that my mother was very, very jealous of the love and attention that he gave his kids. My mother wasn't an overly affectionate person. Not that she didn't have feelings, but she had a lot of walls, and she had her own upbringings and her own traumas, and she was very much codependent herself. And one of these things is she was very jealous of the hugs and the kisses and the attention that the kids got, because that took away from what she got, right? And she expressed it in many different ways. But my dad recognized this, and energy is energy, right? And he would make it work for him 100%. Now, I don't know how I got off on that. Let me just take a look. Oh, Victoria's daughters. We were talking. Oh, but he played it to his advantage. He most definitely did. And it was a little bit a payback for this lady in waiting that was holding him back from what he thought was his right to be able to and he did. He had all that, but again, because it wasn't official, because he wasn't king, he beat on himself a little bit more. But he was highly loved and he was highly respected by everybody, and that's why it was such a great loss, right, when he passed away so young. And she loved him too, because she stayed a widow that whole her the rest of her life. That's how much she loved him, right? Yeah, wore black her whole her whole reign. And that's sad when you mourn after that. My mother mourned after my dad deeply. She was instantly, when my dad passed away, it was like a light switch went off in her, and all that energy that my mother had, it was just gone, and she was just so heartbroken for the pretty much the rest of her life. I mean, she enjoyed her grandkids, she enjoyed her kids, right? But yeah, that feisty was out of her, and I was happy to see it gone, right? Personally, but that was my role in her life, right? The other girls didn't quite see it the same way and had a totally different experience with my mother than what I did, right? And I don't begrudge them that in the least. I'm actually happy for a lot of it. Some of it has left residue that's caused them problems, like caused them great problems actually, right? But yeah, I don't know where I was coming from that. Again, the princesses, yeah, Victoria and Albert. That was an interesting documentary. But I had seen it before, right? So I guess I just watched it again. Sometimes like I need that brainless stuff. Sometimes I can get pretty punch drunk on the mindset and the mindfulness, because you take in so much, and because when you get a lot of these understandings right away, and it clears things up for you and your understandings and stuff, that it can be emotionally exhausting, especially if you touched and are resolving something that was very painful that you thought totally something different, and then it ended up being the worst thorn that you could possibly think of, right? So those are very exhausting too. So at that point, I know it's time for a little bit of metal detecting videos, or again, I like my documentaries and I go off and I learn something else. I heard a good one recently. You gotta let the rewards reward. So I try to watch things for my own benefit that I enjoy, right? But you never know when you, like, just like now, having a conversation, then for me to be able to add on to that conversation with the knowledge that I picked up in a documentary. But yeah, Mary Kay, these are the colorings that Kathy does, and they're absolutely amazing. Look at all the candies, and there's Saturn. At first I thought they were spaceships, but they're actually little planets, and there's a thing there, it's full of little bats, and she's got a carousel, right? She's all raggedy, hitting the road. She doesn't even care. She's standing in a mud puddle, right? She sees the time coming through the timepiece. I have one of those. I have one of those too, right? I have one of those too, and hourglass, right? Yeah, I'm already but inspired about it, but how I wanted it tied in, right? Because I want to do the 12 days of giving, and it was the first part of it was Kathy agreeing to do this. I think it will be fun, right? To see how she, or what she saw in one of her colorings, but of course her emotions are tied in, and as you're doing the work, you're putting your love into the work that you're doing there. So she's got her own ideas about that. But that would be reflective of your own life, I'm going to assume, Kathy. And I'm going to read into it maybe for my life, or maybe I'll do something in general that will probably benefit, because it is the 12 days of forgiveness. So it's got to be something that will benefit and be a gift for everybody. I'm excited to get working on this. Hopefully, no later, but by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I want to be working on this, right? see if I can even get it resolved so that maybe by noon. But I'm going to assume for the most part, because of the office hours and stuff in the building, that it's probably going to be a little bit later in the afternoon that I'll be able to get my lease all sorted out, or at least all the documentation that they're going to need. My sister said we could do it tonight, and I made her a cup of coffee, and I went upstairs ready to get it done before my live show, but she wasn't home, so I brought the coffee downstairs and poured it down the sink. And I said, "Oh, I guess she got called in. Guess she got called into work." But I don't know if I want to interrupt her at 10 o'clock at night if she has to work tonight. To get her to go through all that hassle of printing out all those papers and stuff, I need a lot of paperwork printed out, right? So, but if I don't do it, then my rent is going to go up really high here, and at that point, maybe it would be better to look for somewhere else in that price range that maybe I could get something with a little porch or a little veranda or something where I could sit outside in the evening or something. That would be nice. I'm grateful for my big picture window. I'm grateful for my apartment. I am grateful for these things because it was a totally different story last year, wasn't it, you guys? I was talking about that this week on my Instagram too, how desperate I was last year that I actually had for heat, because it didn't even cross my mind when they cut off my electricity that I wasn't going to have any heat because the thermostat runs my heat in my apartment. So without the electrical going to the thermostat, then the heat wasn't going to come on, right? And yeah, I had an extension cord running out to the hallway. And in that extension cord, I plugged in my phone to charge my phone, plugged in my computer to play on the computer, and I plugged in the toaster to work as my heater. And I had a big quilt wrapped around me, and it was like a tent. I could laugh at it now, but I was so sad. I was so scared. I was so desperate. And at the same time, I was trying to do a good job at work. I wasn't missing work, wasn't being late. I don't think I was on time, and I was trying to get compliments and do a good job and be responsible there. But at the same time, I was just stressed because I didn't know if I was going to have a roof over my head. And plus, the landlord was threatening me almost every day that I was going to come home and the locks were going to be changed on my door. My stuff was going to be gone. And yeah, I lost a few things after I left, right? I lost my big desk. I would have liked to have brought my desk here. I got the cushions off my couch, but my couch was still at the apartment. A few shelves, a couple of them were some nice Métis antique end tables, and they're not going to recognize. It would have ended up in the garbage bin. I hope somebody recognizes it for what it was. But Métis, they weren't very flamboyant in the way they decorated their furniture. Their furniture was more utilitarian, right? They were almost like the Mennonites and the Amish, how they do their furniture with simplicity, right? But solid, like really, truly solid. Oh, well. I am thirsty. I make sure that I have lots of fluids all the time. I've been very, very, very thirsty lately. Yeah, and it's and you I wanted to say, Kathy, on your colorings is the fact that you do inspire with those colorings, how much everybody appreciates them, right? And you always write something really cool with it so that you can see that you're actually trying to inspire and lighten people's life up with those. I really love what you're doing with your Instagram, Kathy. I think it's amazing. Oh, I didn't even, I'm going to have to say I didn't hear about the tornadoes, Mary Kay. I didn't know Midwest. So is that like Montana, that area? maybe it's mentioned down in the comments below. But yeah, it's nice to see Jonathan in here. Jonathan went through the mentorship program with me. Yeah, we became pretty good friends over that, and I just love that he comes and hangs out with us every once in a while on Sunday nights. Yeah, his dream is to go to California. How's that going, Jonathan? If you're still here, let us know. Is the plan still in gear for going to California? I'm reading comments, you guys. That's okay. You guys keep yapping. I know you're not wasting any time just looking at my blank face as I'm reading comments. 3 in the afternoon? Oh, and you're saying you get tired by 3 in the afternoon, or you get tired by 3 in the morning? Yeah, see? That's something else. We have people that do bad business in this building, I think. And I don't know if these people are accidentally walking into other people's apartments, but I've caught them, right? And some of these people are so senior and so immobile that it would be hard for them to even get up in their chair fast enough to even like get their purse and hold on to it for dear life, right? And they don't always remember to lock the doors behind them too. Like they don't think that people can just walk in, but people do. I keep my apartment door locked all the time. Me and my sister even have knock codes, right? Yeah. So we don't answer the door to each other unless we use the knock code that we put together, and it works out really, really well for us, right? Oh, Kentucky, Tennessee. If a town was completely flattened, Mary Kay, then I'm going to assume that people died in that one, right? If a whole town was flattened. Yeah, when you're talking about California changing, Sharon, who comes in all the time, she Sharon Wolf. Sharon Wolf, is that her call name here? Yeah. She lives in California too, and she says it's changed so much, right? She says she doesn't even feel safe anymore to go walking out on her own and stuff. Angry Birds, are you in the background, dear? Say hi if you're back there, right? Because we forget that sometimes you're into talking and sometimes you just like to hang out in the background. But if you are here, just say hi, just so we can say hi back to you. I know you're there, dear, because you always say goodnight at the end of the night. You always wish us having a good night. So I appreciate that you come in and hang out with us, right? But join in on the conversation. And if you don't want to join in, just come in and do your regular. Talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Yeah. Cavan. No, I never heard about that one, Mary Kay. I sometimes watch those Rescue the Elephant. Oh, Jonathan's still here. Happy holidays, everybody. Yes, 100%. That's another thing that I have to get done on my days off is to make sure that I make that community post for sure. So everybody has lots of time to schedule. And I should actually schedule that live right now too. I can do that this weekend so that everybody can get their notifications right away. And that way maybe we can have more people. We usually get a pretty good crowd, and it's all friends on Christmas Eve, right? It's just all of us just kind of hanging out. Cindy's gonna hang out in her onesie and eat mincemeat pie and open my stocking. We always have a good chit chat. Oh, awesome, Jonathan. Thank you so much, dear. I'll see what I can do. Put in that extra effort. I know I got an extra stamp here, dear. And how can I say no? I miss you, and thank you so much for popping in and hanging out with us. Always appreciated. It is always appreciated. Oh, that's nice of you, Mary Kay. I've been doing this now for 7 years. Yeah, I've been on YouTube and Instagram now for 7 years. And if you look from where I started to where I am now, oh my goodness, it's hard to even recognize myself sometimes to say this is what I was doing 7 years ago and this is what I'm doing now. But I believe it's coming in full circle, right? And I'm just waiting for my perfect opportunity, because all it takes is one good opportunity and my whole life could change, right? And then we could be back on the road in Cindy's fifth wheel in her camper, in her Jeep Rubicon 2021, big bull bars, big tires, lots of chrome, right? And then it'll be like we never left, right? We're getting close to that, where it's the point where we've got this. We've learned to live and adapt to this stupid cold that's been going around the world for Oh, I do my live shows on YouTube at 7:30 Central. I don't know what time it is. That time is there. Right now, my clock says that it's 10 minutes, almost 10 minutes to 9. If to be technical, 13 minutes to 9. It's 13 minutes to 9. So just that's, and then I start at 7:30. So we've been going almost an hour and a half now, right? I usually do an hour and a half every Sunday night. And then yeah, oh yeah, I would love to go to California. 100%. I would go visit Sharon in Oakland, right? And then there's a few places I and that's the fun part of doing the Christmas cards, because you get to see where everybody lives. Like Owen, I would love to see Brooklyn, old Brooklyn, all the old buildings. When the Irish came to the States, right? Came to New York. I think Brooklyn is where the Irish were. That would be really interesting. They actually do old bottle digs. Where the privies, before they had toilets and parking lots, they dig these holes in the parking lots, and they dig all the old bottles and stuff. They do bottle digs in the old outhouse holes, right? In New York City, and it's like archaeology. It's like archaeology, right? Yeah, but I would love to go to California 100%. When I was a little kid, my dad was a bit of a nomad. We were always road tripping. He always loved, when he was home, he always wanted to spend his time with his family. And for the most part, because my dad had congenital heart disease, he always knew he was dying. He wanted to stuff his life with as many amazing things as he possibly could. Anything that caught his fancy and he thought he could possibly achieve, he wanted that, right? And road tripping was something he absolutely loved. And we went on lots of trips all over North America, right? but I never went any further than Montreal until after I got married. But my dad, he loved, and then also when we moved, because I went to 11 different elementary schools. I went to a lot. I only went to 2 high schools, and but with college, so that would make 11, 12, 13, 14 schools in my life, 14 different schools in my life. That was because my dad was a nomad. He would pick us up on the whim, just on an idea, just on a hunch, right? And he would move us somewhere, but we always stayed in BC. That was funny. We lived all over BC. White Rock, Penticton, Port Moody, Port Coquitlam, Abbotsford, Burnaby, Dawson Creek, Victoria, Nanaimo. Oh my goodness, Prince George, 150 miles, all over the place in BC. And then when I was 18 years old and getting ready to move out with my girlfriend from high school, because, I was tired listening to my mom say, I can't wait for the day you turn 18. And I was 18, so it was time for me to move. And I had these big plans to move out with my girlfriend. And my dad comes home and goes, guess what? We're moving to Manitoba. And I went, what? You guys are all leaving me here? That ain't happening. Yeah, so he asked my mom, they had discussions and stuff, and I finally got to come to Winnipeg. I did move back to Vancouver for I think about 6 months or so, but then I came back to Winnipeg and I stayed. And I stayed because of the people. I stayed because of Mother Nature for a big part, that there was so much outdoors, so close, like right in the city, right in on your boulevard with the big elm trees and stuff and all the city parks. It was just a beautiful city and a beautiful province. And the people were amazing. And I felt for the first time that I was accepted, right? No matter what I looked like, no matter what my size was, right? That I was accepted. I didn't have to try to be somebody I wasn't. I still did, but by that time I didn't even know who I was anymore. So I just played all the characters that I had lived up to that point, right? But I love Manitoba. I still love Manitoba, but I want to see more of the world. I want to travel. If I could just hit the road forever, I would be happy to do that. I would be happy to do that, right? Want jump in a fifth wheel, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, that would be really cool. Oh, that's nice of you to say, Mary Carey. Yeah, come to California. Thank you for the offer. Maybe one day I will take you up on that offer. We're working on a car right now, but I think if I were to get a car, that I would make it a road trip, right? I would make it a road trip and I would drive down, right? So whether or not I have a minivan all decked out like a camper, if I actually have a fifth wheel or some kind of camper set up, right? Yeah, me and my mother did not have a great relationship. I was the scapegoat child, so I listened to my mother every day from the time I was 12 years old, every single day, probably numerous times a day. I can't wait for the day you turn 18. You're so out of my house. Yeah, not like that. With some personality. Add some personality to that. My mother was a scary woman. I was very afraid of my mother. But because my dad was so sick, because I loved my dad so much that I couldn't be apart from my dad, I bore up the best that I could. But when I was 18, my mother made it quite clear that I was out of the house. But then again, when I was 18, my dad came home and said, we're moving to Winnipeg. And I actually had to negotiate to be able to come to Winnipeg. I come from a very dynamic family. And like I said, all my sisters had different relationship with my parents. like even with my father, like, I was the closest one to my father. I was the one that always went on the trips and had those deep conversations and went on adventures with him. The other girls were pretty and cute. They were more interested in getting the action with their boyfriends and stuff. And, they were favorites of my mom, and she had her own agenda. And I didn't care to spend time with my mother, right? I cared to spend time with my father, and that's exactly what I did. But again, what I was saying about a little bit of that jealousy, right? A little bit of that jealousy being there. My father played my mom a little bit, and when my dad would go fishing, because my dad had to get away from her, even that's why he took off for months at a time in his jobs. He would become a lumberjack or a fisherman, or he'd have one gig after another, and he would just disappear for months at a time, right? And he worked the night shift cab, and he would sleep all day, all day, right? But yeah, he knew how to work the whole family. My dad was like Oz. That's exactly behind the scenes. I didn't even know it until maybe a couple of months ago. I kind of took a serious look at it, and my dad played that family, and he played my mother's emotions. He knew how to work my mom. But when he'd take off for those months at a time, right, that was time for my mom to get her just desserts, right? We'll just put it that way. For now, it's up for discussion. It really is truly up for discussion. It's not like I'm avoiding that discussion, but because I have sisters who have different ideas about my mother, right? That had a different story played out with my mother, because they had attachments, right? And even though I didn't have those attachments, and because I had a different experience, I don't feel that it's my right to actually set out and hurt anybody with my experience. It's right. I've learned my lessons through it, as I move forward. Like I said, my understandings and my mindset, my mindfulness, and the practice, it comes from the experiences that I've had in my life, right? I have complex trauma, and I've been working through that for years now, and I'm doing a terrific job. And a lot of it is forgiveness and understanding that not everybody is at our stage, right? Remember what I said? My mother was emotionally unattached. My mother, I never got a hug from my mother, and my mother never kissed me, right? Right. My mother was an affectionate lady to any of us girls, right? To any of us girls. But I really, because I guess because I was a bit of a seer, because I could see it for what it was. I knew it wasn't right. I knew that I felt the intent. I felt the intent. And it is all about the intent. If it's unintentional, you can kind of just let it pass. But when you can just see it for what it is, it's heartbreaking, right? You can feel the unworthiness, and you can feel the unlove. And right, when you can feel it, it's a totally different story. But that's what makes my understanding a little bit better, because I have that compassion for somebody who might have had the same experience, or had an experience that hurt their emotions, that impacted their life so much that they carried it into their adulthood, right? But we're not it's what we're responsible, right? There's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. And it's not like my mom could come back and say I'm sorry. And we, even though we did have some discussions about it, as when I grew older, about it, just to answer some of those questions I had, and to really see if I had a misunderstanding. But I didn't have a misunderstanding of what it was. It truly was what I thought it was. But when I woke up, I understood it a little bit better. I had a little bit more compassion, just to understand that we're all at different levels, we're all at different stages, and we all have an opportunity to make decisions and movement for ourselves. I mean, I believe that there's another life after this life, and I believe anything that I learn, anything that I better myself with, that I'll be able to take that into the next one. And I would think that maybe my mother just missed out on some of those lessons, right? That And it's not to say she won't get those lessons, because she will. It just might take her a little bit longer. But in the meantime, there's a little bit of dynamics to her relationships, right? Because you can't help anybody unless you can help yourself first. And that's how I truly see it, right? But through our experiences, I think I'm a great healer. I think I'm a great teacher, because I do understand where intent is. I do understand how people work. I mean, again, talking about hypervigilance, it's a safety thing, right? Knowing everything that's going around in your surroundings, controlling your surroundings, right? And it's a sad thing that we have to get to the point where we have to be controlling, but we have to have a little bit of that control in our lives, because if we don't have that, somebody else is going to have that control. And then that's when we're going to take an advantage of, or that's when we're going to get sucked into something really silly, right? That's going to cause us a lot of damage, right? So that's how I see it anyway. Yeah, my sister took after my mom. I'm having troubles with my sister right now, Mary Kay, because my mother passed, and my sister took those responsibility and some of those narcissistic tendencies, right? And some of those sadistic kind of tendencies kind of rubbed off on her. And it could be very heartbreaking. She could just say some of the meanest things sometimes and not even realize that she's doing it, or maybe she does, right? But in the end, it doesn't matter, because if it makes me feel bad, it's not healthy. So I have to pull myself out of it. And that's the thing, when you're a highly sensitive person or you're a very empathic person, it's very easy to get sucked in to other people's ideas, because we're pleasers. We want to help. You could tell that because we take jobs, we build our relationships, right? And we put so much love and care and attention to these relationships, because our self-worth comes from what people think of us, unfortunately, right? And a lot of that's not going to change. I understand in my lifetime right now, through my experiences, that it's not going to change. I see it numerous times, right? I could be at work and all day long could think that I'm going to get in trouble for something, right? I'm going to get in trouble for something. And there's nothing. The day's going perfectly. Everybody's having a grand time. Everything's going smoothly. But in my head, right, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for something, right? And you just have to brush it off and understand that, right, that you didn't put that thought there, right? That thought is an untruth. And you have to remember that, right? But again, that's a lot of lessons I had to take, right? But on top of most of it is forgiveness, just to let it slide and just say, right, that's just the stage that they are. And you can hope that maybe they'll pick up on some lessons in their life so that they can move forward and not have to do it all over again in the next life. But sometimes we just can live our whole lives and not wake up to any of these ideas. I mean, I could have gone through my whole life and been totally unaware of any of this, right? And lost every opportunity, because I certainly would not be on the path that I'm on right now, even though in my own sort of kind of way that I was, because everybody came to me, everybody talked to me. I knew everything, and everybody was always asking my advice. I was doing this anyway within my own friendships and my family. Like, it was just something that I did naturally, right? But now I'm moving into this a little bit more, and it's interesting, and I truly think that this world needs this. And because all these ideas and all this stuff that I'm delving into right now, I started delving into before even the virus came. It was like a year, over a year, that I decided and I pivoted that I was going to work in emotions, because I could see how desperately everybody needed a little bit of peace of mind, right? And through my experiences and through my understandings, I thought, right, because I got taught your purpose comes through your pain, and I knew what my pain was, right? So I wanted to help those people that maybe had those difficult life that I felt that I had, right? And like again, It's nothing we can do except put the work in and fix it ourselves. We have to take totally 100% responsibility for it, and I think I've done a pretty good job at that. I take and I don't begrudge anybody. My life is what my life is, and I made ultimately every single one of those choices that got me to where I was, to where I am now, and my own choices and my own effort will get me to where I am next. And I'm good with that, right? And I have to trust in that, right? Because that's what it is. I believe in that. So belief is something that you have to hold tight to, and I hold tight to a lot of my ideas. A lot of my ideas were just instant knowings that this is just the way it is, and I have to just roll with that and search out information on that and stuff like that. But I truly think that at some point, right, that I have been and participated in all kinds of different religious ideas, right? And I would like to do my own thoughts, and I understand it's not all my own thoughts because it's mentorship. It's going out there and searching out answers from the people that actually have that experience, right? Like I had my own experience so that I could help in emotional healing of complex trauma, help people find a little bit of comfort, a little bit of joy in their life, maybe lessen a little bit of that anxiety that can wreak havoc on a life that's needs to be lived, needs to be experienced, but just doesn't have that gumption because of all the misery that it has, right? And so we have to eliminate some of that stuff and deal with some of that stuff. And that's my realm. That's my expertise. So that's right. That's my purpose for my pain. So this is where I am, right? Whereas somebody will be an expert in something else. And it's each one of our interactions that we're actually gifted by these people in their knowledge and their gifts, or they'll just outright give it to you. And then you can just have something extra for your toolbox. And that has happened to me on many occasions too, right? So, again, all about the experiences and all about the choices. And yeah, and I talk a lot about change, and I talk a lot about choices on my Instagram. I talk a lot, I could talk forever on it, right? Because that's movement forward, right? You need both. Yeah. I'm not very good with music, Andrew. Sometimes I'll pop in on chorus, right? Or if it's really catchy, maybe I can sing a jingle. I'm pretty good with jingles, like the commercial jingles. I'm pretty good with those. But yeah, for songs, no, I don't. But I just might pull up the lyrics and see. Uh, but I see the possibilities, and that's the thing, right? It's easy to encourage and motivate when you can see the possibilities, right? When you can see the gifts in other people, right? Like I see your gifts. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to be the benefit on Sunday nights to those gifts, right? And don't you see that analytical mind of yours where you're so right? So good with the actors and the producers and the writers and the content and the quotes and right? Like that's a gift and you're so natural at it, right? But that was also something I was talking about because even though I can't do that, it's like watching a symphony or watching a ballet. Who would these dancers be without that person who appreciates watching them dance? Who would that symphony be if it wasn't for the audience with their ears attuned to the beautiful chorus of the instruments, right? So the appreciator of the art is just as important as the artist. And I think of that as myself, right? And even though I might not be able to have these talents in myself as much as I would like to think that I have, it's like my sister, right? She thinks she could sing, but she can't sing, but she sings anyway. And she thinks she's amazing, right? But she just, oh my goodness, she's like chalk on a chalkboard, but she loves to sing and she brings it in. It brings her joy. She doesn't care what anybody says, right? But it's also, we have to remember that the person who appreciates the art is just as important as the person that produces the art. One wouldn't exist without the other unless it was for your own meditation, or as a group, as an orchestra, or as a team, as a ballet. What do you call that? Group, a ballet group, right? Community. Isn't that something? Yeah, that's the depression and the anxiety. And that's my hopes, right? To help alleviate. I lost somebody very dear to me not 2 years ago at this time of year, right at Christmas. He broke so many hearts, left so many people hurt. At the same time, he could have done a lot of damage because I have people that I care about who were on their own healing journeys at the time, and they sure could have gone backwards with a hit like that, losing somebody so close and so meaningful for them. I'm just so proud and so awed at the bravery and the courageousness of these again characters in my life, right? That held up to that need for numbing the pain. And yeah, it was a miracle that he didn't fall suit to that tragedy. It was a tragedy. It truly was, and it was unnecessary. Suicide is just a sad thing. My uncle killed himself. My uncle killed himself. Even my dad said he had his suspicions as to why his brother killed himself, but he says he truly didn't know. He said it could have been anything, right? He didn't leave anything. All he did was left a 45 record. He left it for his mother that said these boots are made for walking. It was a Frank Sinatra, his wife's hit song at the time. It was a song called These Boots Were Made for Walking. And he left this little 45 album for his mother as some kind of message, right? But that message would have been something private between the two of them, right? But did so much damage to that family, to my dad, right? And that was my dad's best friend. They were very close in age, right? That was his little brother. And I barely got to know him. I have some pictures of me with him lifting me up and stuff, but I didn't like that. I got thrown up in the air and stuff a lot as a little baby, right? Everybody liked to do that. Everybody in my family were drinkers, so I couldn't have imagined. It's a good thing I don't have a good memory of that time, right? Because I can't imagine the excitement around a household like that and witnessing that as a baby. 100%. Oh, that's nice of you guys to say. I appreciate it. And I love being here too, you guys. I love being here too. And that's the thing. We are a community, right? We come here on Sunday nights to distress. We talk out issues. We give opinions. It's equally just as important to disagree with each other as it is to agree. And we have to remember that too. And we actually have to remember just to let things go, which is a good lesson for me. I'm losing my voice now, which is a good lesson for me too. It's a hard week, yeah. And I did my live today and I worked today. It's the end of the night. And my dog, it's not over yet. We're dropping these in the mailbox tonight. I have a couple more projects I need to get done. And let's see if Cindy can accomplish them. But I do have to go now, everybody. I am pooped. It's time for some dinner at, it's after 9 o'clock already, everybody. It's time for some dinner and go up and see my sister and see if we can get some of this stuff done. Okay, everybody. We'll see each other next Sunday. And I guess the week after that will be Christmas. So we're getting there, you guys. 12/12. Holy moly. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, come and follow me on Instagram because I will be doing that 12 days of giveness. And let's see if at the end of it, there is a little something that I can give, right? Yeah, that would be amazing. Okay, everybody. Yeah, I've got my cold cup of coffee here. I'm going to finish that. I'll take that upstairs with me to see my sister, and we're going to get some stuff done. But I'll let you know how that all worked out on my Instagram tomorrow or next week when we meet up with each other again. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.